Taiki sees Chinatsu walking very amicably with Haru, which deeply depresses him. However, Hima tries to cheer him up, saying that just because they are walking together doesn't mean there is something between them. For example, Hima points out that they are also walking together, and it doesn't mean they have romantic intentions. Taiki agrees and they continue their walk awkwardly, but the next day, he again finds Chinatsu talking to Haru in the gym. Kyo mentions that both of them are superstars in their sports, and Hima adds that they are in the same year, in the same class, and are class representatives. Taiki falls into the depths of sadness. Hima tries to cheer him up again, reminding him that Chinatsu said she wasn't thinking about a relationship at the moment and just wanted to focus on basketball. Taiki agrees, but knows that you can't help who you fall in love with. The coaches oversee the training, trying to spot the best talents, which they know are the seniors and Haru, who has what it takes to compete at the national level. Still, the coach sees potential in Taiki as well. During practice, the basketball falls near Taiki and Chinatsu goes to retrieve it. The sight of it causes Taiki some pain, so he simply gives her the ball and walks away. But then, Chinatsu asks him what time he'll be home that day because he forgot his key and his parents won't be home that night. He replies that he'll finish at 7, the same time as her. They're about to agree to go home together when Haru interrupts them, calling Chinatsu Chi and asking if she has another stopwatch because his broke. Taiki is consumed with jealousy as he runs home, not only because Haru calls her by her name, but by a cute nickname, Chi. He wonders what he has to do to reach that level of familiarity. At that moment, Chinatsu arrives, startling him and leaving him in an awkward position on the floor. Taiki realizes that he is the product of pathetic and strange. Chinatsu sits next to him and tells him that he came home quickly, because when she left, the badminton team was just starting to shower, so he thought practice had spread. Taiki tries to avoid the conversation by going to his room, but Chinatsu stops him and asks if he ran home because he didn't want to leave her waiting outside. Taiki is surprised at how perceptive she is, since that is exactly what happened. He realizes that no matter what people call her, she pays a lot of attention to him, and that makes him very happy. Chinatsu tells him that if that was what he did, it was a sweet gesture. Taiki stands up and tells her that she is wrong, that he only ran home to train, then heads off to continue running. As he runs, Taiki thinks that it doesn't matter what the others do, he just needs to focus on the matches to get to nationals. But he admits that if someone calls her Chi in front of him again, he'll go crazy. The next day, Taiki wins another match and is on a hot streak, but he's only played against freshmen, not starters. Meanwhile, Haru has won all of his matches. Kyo asks what's going on with Haru and Chinatsu, and Taiki says he doesn't care anymore. He won't let it affect him. However, his friend realizes that it still affects him, because when they meet Haru and Chinatsu at the water fountains, Taiki turns away, trying to convince himself that it doesn't bother him. Chinatsu is told that the badminton team has started their matches, and she wishes Haru good luck, which is a rude blow to Taiki, who listens. Chinatsu leaves, and Haru's friend takes the opportunity to ask him what's going on between him and Chinatsu. Haru replies that there's nothing going on, as they're both focused on sports, but he likes seeing a girl work so hard. Taiki's heart stops for a moment, thinking that Haru might confess his feelings or intentions toward Chinatsu. Finally, the match between Haru and Taiki arrives. Haru sets the pace of the match, and Taiki can't find an opening to attack. Kyo watches with Hima, knowing that this is more than just a match. Taiki is facing someone who seems much closer to reaching his goals than he is. The first half ends, and Haru beats Taiki 11-4. Kyo approaches his friend as he cools off. An enthusiastic Taiki asks if he thought he was close to scoring several times. He realizes his mistakes and is determined to fix them. Kyo notices how active his friend is, despite all the emotional and morale hits he's taken recently. Taiki admits it's because Chinatsu motivates him, but even so, he doesn't do it just for her. He truly loves his sport. He's called back to resume the match. Taiki notices his shoelace is untied, and when he bends down to tie it, he sees the bracelet Chinatsu made for him. This helps him remember his promise. The game starts again, and this time it's much more even. Everyone can see it, including Chinatsu. In the end, Taiki loses by 6 points. Kyo acknowledges that he did very well, and despite losing, his good performance will likely earn him a spot on the team. Even so, Taiki is upset about the loss. Haru controlled the game the whole time, and it frustrates Taiki to lose to him, even though he knows they're at different levels. At the entrance to the gym, Haru and his friend overhear their conversation. Annoyed, Haru says he's the one most frustrated, even though he won. His friend asks why, and Haru is about to explain something that happened at the end, but changes his mind and walks away. Taiki walks home, thinking about all the ways Haru is better than him, and how he needs to work on the mistakes he made during the match. Just then, Chinatsu runs in. She tells him that the sun is almost setting and asks him to run after her. He asks where she is taking him, and she just says it's a nice place. They arrive at a park, and she shows him that she borrowed a pair of rackets from the gym. She draws a line in the dirt with a stick and reminds him that one day he asked her to play badminton, and he felt like he wanted to keep playing. She also suspects that he, like her, feels more motivated after a match. They start playing, and Chinatsu struggles to serve. Taiki can't help but laugh and advises her to just let go of the shuttlecock and spin the racket. She follows his advice, and her serve improves a lot. Chinatsu wants her to practice her spikes and mentions that she did a lot of them during her match today. She replies that she watched his match, but an embarrassed Taiki asks her to forget it because he's embarrassed about losing. Chinatsu tells him that there's nothing to be ashamed of because he played a great match. He mentions that while Haruyu only scored 10 points in the second half, Taiki managed to score 11. Taiki hadn't realized that, but he still says that a loss is a loss. Haruyu destroyed him in the first half and he couldn't recover. Chinatsu laughs as he realizes how much Taiki hates losing. She points out that he followed the coach's instructions perfectly during practice and in the match, never giving up, which is why he won the second half. She then tells him not to worry and assures him that he'll be fine. Taiki finds it hard to believe in his own talent, but it's easier when the person he likes tells him so. He smiles and promises that he'll win next time. Chinatsu receives a message from Taiki's mother, asking when they will be coming home. Taiki notices that there is a keychain in her bag that says Chi and panics, thinking that Haruyu gave it to her. But she explains that all of her classmates call her that. This reassures Taiki greatly. She asks if he is ready to go home, but he says that he would prefer if she went ahead, as she might not mind it. But he is bothered by being seen walking home with a girl. He decides to stay and practice some more. Chinatsu heads home alone, thinking about her words, "Maybe it won't bother you," and wondering if that is how he sees her. The next day, Taiki finds out that he has been assigned to train with Haruyu. Kyo jokes that he will have to go to nationals with his romantic rival. Taiki explains that although he likes Chinatsu, that doesn't make them rivals. But Haruyu interrupts him and calls him to go train. Haruyu says that they will use the training plan that he designed. Taiki doesn't mind and is glad that Haruyu didn't hear the end of his conversation with Kyo. But then, Haruyu asks him if he likes Chinatsu. Taiki realizes that it's a bad start for their training partnership. They begin training and his teammates watch in awe. Haruyu's training is very hard and extreme, and they all admit that they couldn't do it. Taiki tries to keep up, but stops to catch his breath. Haruyu agrees to let him rest, but tells him that Chinatsu never stops for a break, and whoever dates her must be just as disciplined and tough. Taiki gets up and asks what's next in training. After a week, Taiki can't even get up from his desk. He tells his friends that Haruyu worked him to exhaustion, and that sitting at his desk is the only place he can get some rest. Kyo is surprised that Haruyu trains him so hard, as he never thought Haruyu was the type to train as a team. Hima suggests that maybe it's Haruyu's way of telling Taiki not to get close to his girl, trying to prove that he's better and making fun of him. Taiki tells them he really does feel inferior to Haruyu, since even though they're doing the same training, Haruyu never stops and can keep up the pace. During training, they're playing a team match. Taiki returns a shuttlecock with a cross shot, and Haruyu strictly asks him why he did that, explaining that the opponents were ready for it, and it would have been much better to hit a straight shot, even if it was more difficult for him. He finishes by saying that if Taiki keeps choosing the easy way out, he'll never improve. Taiki understands and immediately starts practicing his straight shots several times. By the time the training ends, he can barely walk. After school, he runs into a group of second-year students, including Haruyu. Haruyu congratulates him on his effort that day, and Chinatsu is also in the group. Haruyu thinks for a moment, grabs Taiki, and tells the group that they were partners that day. He starts listing all of Taiki's mistakes, which were many, but adds at the end that he thinks Taiki will become good because he never gives up, even when subjected to some pretty intense stuff. Taiki feels a bit embarrassed, but also praised at the same time. He looks over at Chinatsu, who quietly tells him, "You're doing great," which makes him feel a lot better. Haruyu interrupts the conversation when he gets a message from his girlfriend, which surprises Taiki. Haruyu tells him that they've been together for a week, and that it was tough because she's in show business. He almost gave up, but then she asked him for a date. He also thanks Chinatsu for going with him to buy makeup as a gift, since he would have felt awkward doing it alone. Taiki realizes that Haruyu had been toying with his feelings all week, and Haruyu comments that it seems like it's going to take Taiki a little longer to get a girlfriend. If you've reached this point in the video, don't forget to leave the word exquisito in the comments. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.